If you told me years ago that I would be leading a service team for one of the most respected brands in the world, I probably would have laughed because I didn't have a plan, right? But I had a drive, I had a great work ethic, and I was surrounded by some great people. Welcome to Wrenched into Leadership. I'm Adiel, and this show is all about leadership, growth, and the real stories that happen behind the service drive. Because this industry isn't just about fixing cars, but it's about building people. And I started this podcast to show that you don't need a perfect roadmap to make it. You just need grit, growth, and to be surrounded by some good people. I still remember my early days, a 17-year-old kid, full of energy, no direction, but surrounded by all kinds of different personalities. I had younger technicians that thought they knew everything. I had seasoned technicians telling me, kid, beat it, get out of here while you can, this industry is dying. But no one ever explained the rules, right? I was thrown into the deep end and told, figure it out. And I did, right? Just not without failing, a few times. But my first job was for a big franchise quick lube station, right? I was pumped. I wanted to be a technician my entire life. So to be part of something like this was exciting. But we serviced hundreds of cars a day, and every step depended on teamwork. And if I forgot to signal the guy upstairs that the car was ready to be filled up with oil, well, let's just say I'd have a lot of long nights, cleaning up messes. Our store manager was never around, right? So I had to learn from training videos, watching others, and asking questions, right? And most of the time, the guys just want to finish their shift, right? Not babysit the new kid. So that's where I learned my first big lesson, right? Sometimes you've got to teach yourself before anyone's willing to teach you. Sure, there were times I wanted to walk away, got tough, right? Especially like if I make a mistake, forgot to fill up a washer fluid or forget to tighten up a drain plug. It'd be humiliating because you're surrounded by younger kids like your age. But I needed a leader, right? I needed someone to guide me, but our store manager was never around, right? He was always out to lunch. And I remember asking myself, what am I even doing here? Where does this take me, right? So a few months later, a friend of mine at a Mazda dealership told me that he was moving out of town and asked if I wanted his spot. So I said, sure, yeah, absolutely, you know what I mean? But I'll tell you, that decision, it changed everything for me. This store was smaller, right? In about 10 bays, 4 technicians, which included myself, a great parts manager who's still one of my best friends today, 1 service advisor, and a service manager. It was family owned, right? The owner actually knew everybody's name, but the team is what was important to me. They took me in. They taught me how to be a better technician, right? And honestly, a better person. Because I grew up with a single mom, raising 4 boys. We didn't have much. So being around people that wanted me to succeed, right? It motivated me, it inspired me. I spent my downtime helping all of them, right? Asking tons of questions, learning everything I could. But there was this one master tech, an absolute rock star. When a new service manual would come in, he would take it home, read it cover to cover. like who does that? Nowadays, you'd be lucky if you read a sentence. But watching him work, right? His precision, his focus, his speed, right? It was like watching an artist at work. He made me want to master my craft too, right? So after a few years, business slowed down a bit, right? And I started developing some hand issues and I realized that I couldn't wrench forever. So our parts counter guy at the time had left to take on a bigger role somewhere else. And I had been there for a few years and I was ready to learn something new. So I raised my hand, they gave me the position, and I'll tell you, that move opened my eyes. I started to see how the business worked, right? How communication, parts flow, leadership, all connected behind the scenes. And I remember a time when both our service manager and the advisor quit on the same day, right? Now the desk is empty, the phones are ringing, customers are waiting. And I just remember somebody saying, hey, Adiel, can you just take the desk? I was 21 years old. I never wrote up a repair order, and I definitely didn't know how to write service. But I said, yes, sure, why not? I'll figure it out. So next morning, I showed up to work in a dress shirt, tie, ready to take it on. I remember greeting customers, writing up repair orders, making recommendations. No clue what I was doing, but I had to learn fast. So those same technicians who taught me in the shop were now teaching me how to communicate, how to sell, how to lead, especially that master tech. He would stay late with me, show me how to process warranty claims, write stories, build trust with customers. Nobody asked him to do it, right? And nobody certainly gave me the title. But I did it because it needed to be done, right? For myself, for the customers, and for the team. And that's when I realized something that, and it stayed with me ever since. Leadership isn't about titles. It's about action, right? You don't need permission to start just doing it. You don't need permission to lead. You just need to start doing it. So I guess my message to everyone is, if you're new in this industry, right? Or just trying to figure out a path, hear me out. You don't need the roadmap, right? You just need resilience. The direction will come as long as you keep moving forward, right? Stay curious, ask questions, show up even when nobody's watching, because that's how leaders are built. Not by titles, not by plans, but by showing up and choosing to lead any way that you can. So the goal of this podcast is, to share a story. I know it's a brief story, but a story that you don't need, leadership to give you a title to lead, because I'll tell you, our next generation of youngsters deserves leaders who've been where they are, and that's exactly what I'm trying to build here, right? And I think it will resonate with a lot of people who just run around this industry trying to figure things out. So if you're new here, and you want to learn more about the industry, follow the podcast, get connected, share this with other people that that are new in the industry, because this is going to be a journey that I think will help a lot of people. And I just want to thank you for watching the first episode. There's going to be more content like this coming out every couple of weeks. But I will tell you that real experiences have defined who I am today and made me the person that I am. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen. And please share this, like the podcast, because there's a lot more stories like this that we'll be sharing from a whole slew of people. So thanks for watching, and remember, no roadmap, just drive. So take care, everybody.